Okay, number 5. Little Fockers. Yes, I did just say Little Fockers. It was so panned by critics before it was even released. Obviously they'd seen it early, and they were all saying, oh, it's not as good as the first two, it's terrible, and oh, all this business. I mean, yes, it isn't as good as the first two, but from what I picked up on was the fact that they went for a more heartwarming story than gags and, down outright comedy, which for me actually worked as far as the story plot goes. I mean, the only scene I didn't like it was at the end when all the families were talking about moving into the same area, which just implies that there could be another movie around the corner. I personally hope there won't be, because now it's a trilogy, it seems like the story's complete. So therefore, to do any more would seem like they're trying to really ham it out and, squeeze every last bit out of the franchise that they can. Okay, number 4. Terminator Salvation. I just shuddered as I said that, because I know a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, who hate this movie. The one main reason why I like it is because we finally get to see the future war that has been so hyped up in the previous 3 Terminator movies. I mean, we only saw it in flashbacks. This was finally the big, full, outscale war that we were all waiting for. I mean, I will admit, I saw the trailers, I read a lot about it before it came out, and I was laughing my head off thinking, what, another Terminator movie, but without Arnie? I was the first person to say this is going to suck, it's not going to be brilliant. And then I went to see it and I was like, wow. I know there are a lot of effects in it that just really make you want to cringe and hang your head in shame, but it's, as far as story-wise go, it's not a bad movie, because you get to understand characters like Kyle Reese as a younger kid. And I know it's very strange because he's John Connor's father, but obviously John can't tell him. And there are certain things we didn't know about in the previous 3 films that have come into this one, and it all of a sudden just makes the whole thing really work. And I mean, it makes it work very well, and I was really impressed by the way it was all set up and how the story progressed throughout the film. And the climax is a little underwhelming, but it only sets it up for what could have been a really good sequel to this, where it was right in the depths of the war, and it could have led it up right to the events before the first movie. So like when John Connor does send Kyle Reese back through time because the T-800 has been sent through to kill Sarah Connor. That would have been a good sequel, I think, but unfortunately they've seemed to have cast Arnie for a Terminator 5, which seems to tell me that they're going to go back to the original format from Terminator 2, send the Protector back, who's an older model, and then send a villain back who is twice times the power he is. I'm hoping that's not what happens and they do continue with this war storyline, but you don't know what's going to happen as it's only been announced that Arnie's been cast. But anyway, that's my opinion on Terminator Salvation. And number 3, pause for dramatic silence, Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. And I have to say, this is one movie I am probably going to be hauled across the coals for saying I actually enjoyed it. But the reason why is purely for Ian McDiarmid's performance as Palpatine. He really stole the show in this movie, setting everything up. And a lot of the fight scenes, especially the early space battle, was a real return to the feel of the original trilogy for me. And yes, Hayden Christensen's acting isn't that much better than what it was in Attack of the Clones, but at least it's better than what it was in that film. I mean, that was truly awful. a truly awful performance in episode 2. But he really, in my opinion, he did kind of make up for it in episode 3, but only just a little. So, for people to say, oh, why do the critics say it's good and all this, it's like, well, you just have to see Ian McDiarmid's performance and you're just satisfied with the way it's all set up and it all comes into play. The only thing I criticise is that the last half hour of the movie seems very rushed, and they've spent more or less the whole movie trying to set everything up, and then it's like, oh darn it, we're running out of time, so let's, do the battle, put him in the Darth Vader suit, and, give him a few lines, and then give the bait, let Padme have the twins, and, send Luke to Tatooine and Leia to Alderaan, and then of course the scene that was deleted was when Yoda goes to Dagobah, which in my opinion is a shot they should have left in because it would have been a nice addition. But hey ho, you work with what you can. But anyway, that's the reason why I actually enjoy Star Wars Episode 3 over the other two prequels. Okay, number 2. And this is one that shocks me every time I see negative reviews for it. And that's Batman Forever. I mean, yes, we all know Joel Schumacher completely murdered the Batman franchise with Batman and Robin. But Batman Forever is a really nice, approachable Batman movie. If you're gonna try and get a younger generation into Batman and accessible to a younger audience, that is the movie you would pick for them to watch. Or if you want really little kids to watch it, you force them to watch Batman and Robin, because I feel that movie was genuinely aimed at the toy buying young kids audience. It was not for die-hard Batman fans like myself who really enjoy the adult Batman movies. I mean, I will admit, when I first saw Batman and Robin, I was 9, 10 years old at the time, and I will admit I didn't enjoy it as much as the others, but being 9 or 10 years old and just before I left my kids stage, I came out of that movie wanting to get all the figures, wanting to get all the games, so it worked as a marketing ploy, but as a film it's just absolutely godright awful. But with Batman Forever, it's a real nice family-friendly Batman movie. It's one of those you can watch as a kid and be took in by all the imagery and Jim Carrey's funny performance as the Riddler, and just be took in by the escapism of it. But as an adult, you see the underlying theme behind it, which is, of course, Dick trying to cope with his family's death after their performance at the circus. But I will admit, the one thing that peeved me, I mean, I do like Batman Forever, don't get me wrong, but the one thing that really annoyed me was the fact that they confused Dick Grayson's character with Jason Todd from the Batman story arc. I mean, all Jason Todd did in the comics was whinge and moan. So therefore, when the story came out of Death in the Family, I know a lot of people who rejoiced in that storyline when that particular Robin got killed off. But that's delving into the comic side. But Dick Grayson was a formidable sidekick to Robin. He wasn't this little whinging shit, excuse me. He really was. He was like a younger version of Bruce, but a little more headstrong, and he would rush in there first rather than taking a back seat and looking at the situation first before rushing into it. But like I said, it's not a good Batman movie. I mean, obviously nothing's ever going to top the first original Batman or The Dark Knight, but it's a really nice movie if you want to introduce a younger generation to the character and you still want them to see that serious side of Batman, even though there are a few corny one-liners in it. But that's my opinion. Okay, the number one movie that I like but everyone seems to hate, and by everyone I mean everyone. And when I say I like this movie, I'm not going by the original cinematic cut, which was only 72 minutes long. I think you know what's coming. I'm going by the director's cut, if you will, which had a lot more scenes and had a lot more plot to it. But I'm going to say Highlander Endgame. Yes, I know it doesn't fit the series arc, but you know, and it's changed Duncan's history and all this business, but it's really a well played out movie. I mean, the villain is too over the top compared to the Kurgan. Even I said that in my Highlander review, but it's really a good action movie, and it's a nice follow up to the original Highlander movie compared to Highlanders 2, 3 and 5, which, to be honest, if I never saw them again, I'd be a very happy person. So, you know, Highlander Endgame is one of those movies. It's not my favourite movie of all time, by any means, but I am a huge fan of the TV series as well, apart from the last series, which is Series 6, and that some of those stories were getting very far-fetched. I mean, yes, the acting's not brilliant. Yes, some of the action scenes look kind of hokey now, especially when they repeat a lot of the same sequences over and over. But, and then if you see a lot of the scenes, deleted scenes from it, all of a sudden the whole plot makes a lot of sense. And you think to yourself, so that's where it fits, and it fits here, and it actually all begins to make sense. I mean, and I'm going to spoil it, but the fight scene between Connor and Duncan is just an epic fight, despite its schmaltzy ending. But the fight itself is really cool, because it's something Highlander fans have been wanting to see for years, and we finally got it. And for me, that is the highlight of the movie, and the twist in it, of the way they do it, is really well set up and really well played out. But it's just a shame that it gets a bit hokey towards the end, and it's nice to see that the effects were actually finished for the DVD version. Okay, I'm gonna cut it off here. As you can tell, I'm just about to head to work shortly, so I'm gonna have to leave it there. But that's my top 10 movies that I like but everyone seems to hate. I'll do a separate video next for movies that I hate but everyone seems to like, so I'm gonna flip it over just like Doug Walker did. So that's it for now. I'll try and get that video done tomorrow, and I promise within the next few weeks there is going to be my Mrs. Doubtfire review. But with it being one of my favourite movies, I do want to research it properly and look into it and come up with some good opinions for it. Okay then, this is Guitar God 645. It's been nice to do this for you, and I'll see you all in the next part, which should be in the description. Take care. Next up is movies that I hate but everyone likes. Take care for now, and bye.